actually redeem this reward during stream. Wow. So my favorite part about streaming, redeeming the reward. Also, I'm not streaming. What's up? Yeah, I am. Why don't you let me? What? Can I redeem my own stuff, please? Can I simply test if it works? Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Then here we are. It has been a while, so yeah. I think finally having the possibility of being here is nice, but I don't even know. I mean, it's complicated. I guess it's always interesting. You never stop to think about different ways in which in in so many ways itself you have the possibility of doing something that you enjoy, like for example me being here, and how you can actively work to try and ensure that you do it. It's it has been quite a while since I tried in any way to say with confidence that yeah, I can be here because I am actively trying. I think it was more sort of, if it were to happen that I somehow appeared here, that I somehow found myself here. Uh, wow, what a crazy coincidence! But I guess sometimes you just have to try stuff. Also, good good morning, scene. I guess I hope you slept. I mean, I don't know. I certainly don't know. Uh, but welcome. Uh, but yeah, it has been a while. I think uh, almost 2 weeks, probably like three or so. Uh, but I guess also I I run out of excuses to not even try. So yeah, luckily enough, here we are. Nothing else to truly say in regards to trying to hear and whatnot. It's finally happening, I guess. And I don't know. I think in in a lot of ways it's complicated. You, I think in life you want to do so many things, but there are only so many ways in which you can try to do them. So you find it difficult to fulfill what you truly want. It's a complicated matter because what you wish for in so many ways is not truly what you think you can obtain. It's an unwinnable discussion, so to speak, with oneself when you try to picture stuff that you have interest on, and when you try to talk about or be honest with once again yourself about what you might want to do and what you might want to try and such. It's something that doesn't truly end well because it's complicated to be real in terms of, yeah, I want to do this one thing and I want to try it honestly and I want to put effort into that. It's, at least from a personal perspective, I think it's always something along the lines of I do not want to try. I think it's better to not even bother trying because you don't have to say later on that you were hard if you try. It's it's an interesting way to convince yourself that stuff is better completely unfixed, unattended, And I see it in many ways like that. This too, it could have been something that one was specifically looking for or looking forward to whatever it is, and trying to do it and trying to be here, but it's rather just an event in terms of, oh yeah, maybe if I get the opportunity to be here, maybe if I were to have the possibility to do this whole thing, it might happen that I will appear, but not something taken, so to speak, seriously. It's always a, I think the only proper word is a lack of compromise, but at the very same time, it's like what truly requires compromise in so many ways. So many things are, in many respects, are completely automatic. Like, you don't really need to be trying. You don't need to put that much effort into many stuff. You simply stop and look around and find out that out of nowhere what you wanted is happening. As in, yeah, I have to go to this one show and I have to do this one simple task, and I don't even have to worry about making sure that other people knows if I'm present or not. I simply go, click on a tiny machine. At the best, with modern technology, something along the lines of, wow, I have to use my fingerprint. What a complicated way to do this, and nothing else. Nothing else truly important happens after that. You don't really have to make sure that everything works. It's like, as much as it's possible, everything else serves you in order for you to not have to once again compromise. And even when it comes to showing up to places for so long, I think it becomes very much this sort of, yeah, is everyone present in terms of the normal list of people, list of um, participants of something, like list of those who are enrolled to a class, list of people who are participating in this event, list of this, list of that, and it isn't in your hands to make sure that you are on it or not. At the best, you have to worry about complaining if you somehow were left out of it, but most certainly, when everything goes right, you are in, and you just have to say, after somebody calls your name, yeah, I'm present. Wow, so deep, such an interesting process that requires so much input, I guess, and in so many ways it's like that. It's the lack of, therefore, I think, any conscious activity to make sure that the stuff that you want happens. And then in so many fields it works like that when you have to work on something like this, when you have to, at the very least, this tiny instance, it's, I personally stop and say, or think, what the fuck do I want to talk out here? What's the point? What am I gonna do? What do you want to find here? If I were to be somebody who tries to hear to this, I do not want it to be a completely shit show of somebody mumbling words. I do not see any meaning behind that. Okay, what do I personally find interesting, and it's such a task that in so many ways requires so much more effort than anything else, because you don't even stop to think about the rest. If you're told what should your position be, what thing you should aspire to do, what kind of goal you have set in this particular course or in this particular place with this sort of people or this other thing, or even the best example for that is always video games. You're not given a completely open world. There are already set goals that you have to fulfill if you want at best. You can ignore those to do another list of goals, but it remains the same. You don't think, what do you want? So, in comparison, being here is pretty much the same stuff. It's out of nowhere. It's the gift to try and stop and, for a second even, maybe try to understand. Okay, what's if something were to happen here? What should it be? And it 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 doesn't need to be always a complicated question. It doesn't need to be a complicated matter to define even, but it's the constant lack of resolve for anything else, or the constant inaction in every other field, that once you are given that possibility, it ends up being almost impossible to make a proper choice. Something that you will say, yeah, I want to see that happen. I want to personally put some effort into this, so it it doesn't feel as if in many ways anything that were to exist in this space did so because you were actively trying. It just so happens that, wow, you sort of stumbled upon anything, and that's how you decided to stick to it and nothing else. It's, I wouldn't say a complete abandonment of responsibility. There are things that require a lot more effort. This isn't on that list, I think so. There are life itself, in terms of what you experience in the real world. This is like paradise compared to that. It's the pleasure of having to simply worry about speaking at best, I guess, saying something that, once again, you find interesting, saying something that feels good enough to talk about for as long as it needs to be discussed. But there are many instances in life itself where you don't get to do what you want. And because for real, at that time, it's completely out of your decision. So, also, why was I shaking so intensively? It becomes a completely ah, miss. Thank you very much. Uh, I don't know how to even call you, but thank you, Silver Lining. Uh, you're welcome. But yeah, it's complicated. I think. In Oh my god, I cannot believe this. Why why do I have to moderate my own channel? Why can't I simply ignore everything? There will. Wow, that's the most complicated task ever. But yeah, the real point is this is nice. Um, this is chill, and it's I pretty much prefer it, even if I don't think about it that often. I guess. Also, do you want India houseboy make? I think probably if I make the accent, it will end up badly. So where I want to ignore the accent. Do you want India houseboy make curry for you every day? Yes. Question mark. Uh, like certainly, so certainly not. I guess certainly not. I would answer you. I will have to pass on your offer. Thank you very much. Now, please, uh, don't don't lose it. Don't 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 type. No, yeah, me me India houseboy, the good houseboy. Please give me opportunity. Don't make it hard for the both of us, or harder, I guess. Please. Also, I broke my chair, but we're not going to talk about it. Can I say something? You're already saying something. What do you wanna say? Continue. Thank you. But one accent at a time, I guess. I mean, no. I mean, being for real. I don't know. I think be, being honest, it's weird because you have the possibility of discussing things with a little bit of comedy, but it's so complicated to make proper comedy because something as simple as an accent is in as oh my god, I cannot believe it. You're being so racist. Why are you speaking like that? Are you making fun of something? No, man. Everybody knows that those people have accent. Well, what do you want me to do? We should act like the accent itself doesn't exist. What's the point? Wow. Also, something I cannot believe it. Indeed, you said something. For that, duet, amazing. Such it probably changed my life. I guess. Yeah. I was for a second. I had to fix my chair. I was thinking. I remember seeing once a guy who entered a stream and said, "Oh my god, are you this person? I know your IRL name," and it was so funny. Why doesn't that happen here? We need somebody going around and being incredibly schizophrenic and saying, "Oh my god, I know your real name," and throwing the most random name ever, like Shefri. Certainly, an Argentinian, even more so, will be named Shefri. But anyway, sorry for that. Going back, where where was I? I have no idea. What? Somebody? Oh my god! Silver lining. Thank you so much. But I already told you, I I don't need India houseboy who makes curry for me every day. But thank you. Uh, you're appreciated, and I wouldn't I don't know if saying good luck with that is fine. I hope one day you find happiness, but I don't know. I wouldn't recommend continuing with trying to simply go to people and say, "Oh my god, do you want? India houseboy who makes curry every day for you? Yes? Question mark. No. But sorry, I might be wooding. I might be abusing my power here in terms of over focusing, putting somebody on the spotlight for too long. I didn't mean to do that. So now for real, what was the point? Life, I guess that's the reality. Trying to simply say, yeah, being here is nice. Compared to whatever else that happens in the real world, being here is nice. And it just becomes at some instance something that you don't really pay attention to. Because you have to actually put effort into what you wanna do. Once again, at the very least here, so it becomes complicated because you have to think what are you looking forward to, and you have to put some energy into deciding, and out of nowhere it's once again the lack of decision in anything else that makes you realize, wow, I have to decide for myself. Impossible. I have that meme of I have free will. How come that I have free will? Why do I have to deal with the consequence of being the one who chooses what I wanna do? Why do I have to be the one who chooses anything? So something that should be as easy as saying, yeah, I wanna come here. I wanna simply words. I wanna utilize words, create sentences. I wanna do something like that. It becomes more complicated than what it needs to be. Yeah. And in many ways, I think it happens constantly, but only focusing on this context, it's the best excuse, I guess. Out of nowhere, one thing requires effort. So you simply say, "Oh my god, I'm not feeling like doing it." I guess. I mean, so many things require, even if you're not directly, directing the ship, so to speak. You're not the one who's deciding where does things and does anything mostly end, but you're at least having the possibility of choosing what do you want to experience in the way, or how do you want to experience that, and it requires still certainly some input. But it becomes something negative. You don't need to worry about making any choice. You can escape to something that is simpler, something that requires a lot less activity in general, or something that has 1,000 more instantaneous rewards than this, at the very least, in terms of, wow, yeah. I think I have already mentioned this, like, in the past 10 minutes or so. Video games are wonderful for that. Something that is so incredibly distant to what is daily life that you find yourself enthralled by a narrative, by a very different thing in your hands, a completely new toy, and that certainly has a lot of potential, not because it is something that you look at and say, wow, this is meaningful. No. It's simply the novelty of doing something, or it's simply, even more with modern games, the already designed machine that is built simply to ensure that you are engaged for a certain amount of time, and in most cases for as much time as it's possible for you to do so, until you completely burn out. So you have million of those things to experience. And I guess at this point in the story of human life, you certainly have like an infinite amount of games for all that matters in terms of something that you can choose and completely waste your life in. Because once again, this was being used as a point for instead of choosing yourself something else, you can go with this uh, pre-willed story. You can go with this pre-made narrative that is this already created starting point, middle point of conflict, and final goal in a lot of games, and you can follow that instead. I think at the very least it becomes a more observable issue with people of, I guess, quote unquote, our age, as in, I don't know, anybody who lives, who has decent access to technology, like we do, anybody who can watch this, who can understand what I'm trying to say. I wouldn't say, oh wow, yeah, only if you are 20 years old, or only if you are 30, or only if you are 40. No, now I certainly even, I will say that probably even people of 70-year-olds, 80-year-olds are into stuff of that sort. And that's only because video games are something more modern. You still have older ways of entertainment, quote unquote entertainment, that are there to also provide a very similar type of meaning, if you want to call it that, and a very similar way of saying, yeah, I have something going on in my life. You know, I watch TV. Wow, the most deep thing that I have heard. I watch TV. I've read a book. I went somewhere. It doesn't matter. It means so much nothing out of those things. But you have 1,000 ways to get your life defined, not by you, by the things that you can do, by the things that simply require you to be quote unquote engaged on them. Like, even tourism has become in so many ways that same thing of something that is pre-ruled for you, something that is already designed so that you have a great time, or at the very least, even if you are going to have a bad time, you don't die in the process of experiencing that one thing, that one trip, that watching that one series, that one movie, playing that one game. Wow. So you simply find yourself doing something else. You don't have to worry about doing anything, about once again being reminded of, oh no, I'm a human being. I have a free will. What a dreadful realization. I don't need to be a complete waste to myself. Can you imagine if you had the possibility of not playing against what you want, and out of nowhere it becomes that a reality for so many people? And I guess it's easier that way. It's certainly easier that way. And compared to that, obviously it doesn't even, in the grand scheme of things, simply sitting here speaking is still, in so many ways, I will simply say, yet another way of entertainment, yet another way of being a not so involved human being. I mean, it's simply a critique, not nothing else. Not like anybody's life, at the very least, so far with what has been said, will change in this particular context. And it's always because you're given the possibility to choose, because you're given the chance to focus on whatever thing you want, that you are finding yourself spending time in any manner that you want, that maybe means something to you, but that does so only in the moment, that doesn't truly bring you any satisfaction. That, I mean, not simply to say, oh wow, yeah, you're not being truly fulfilled. I know you better than you do. No, 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 no. In terms of existing, having a conversation with people, having to deal with the reality of, oh yeah, I lived a life. I have had this much time existing in the world. I look back, and what do I find when I look back? Nothing satisfying. Nothing that truly makes me consider my time well spent. That sort of issue, that sort of having to hear so many people say the exact same shit over and over of, oh yeah, I could have had a fulfilling existence while I instead chose to not do anything that required some risk, that required some engagement, that required any kind of action by myself because I wanted to do it. Not because I was told that it was going to be meaningful, but rather because I found it truly interesting and truly, once again, in any way useful by having spent time considering it myself. That sort of, yeah. I think you might be wasting your time, as in that sort, not the other. Oh yeah, you know, I know what's the best for you. I don't know shit. I think that's the funny part of spending so much time trying to know stuff that you realize constantly you know shit. It's very interesting to see that. It's I guess, yeah, I will say it in that way. It's the gift of understanding very much why. Also, say hello. My dogs woke up finally. It's the gift of realizing that you're not alone in this universe. You can do stuff that finds yourself and that you find also interesting because you chose it to. And it's the constant activity of being amazed, not because simply you need to be amazed, but rather because it's something fulfilling, not that sort of empty, or I mean, even on the line of biases, I guess, of yeah, you have to constantly aspire to this sort of amusement. You have to always be in line for something that tries to catch your attention. You have to be constantly engaged. You have to do your best. Now, in the sort of, yeah, you can find something that feels nice because you tried to do it. And because you realize by yourself that it was something interesting. And this whole point, I guess, trying to tie back with what I was talking about, is simply very much on the same line here of, and I think it's interesting to be here, particularly in this place. It's simply, there are so many other things that are made, that are said to be interesting, that are made to look like they in any way have any meaning, that it's difficult to finally resolve oneself to do what you want to truly do, to try at the very least. So it's an even harder struggle to say, yeah, you know what? Let's try to actively be here and to actively even more ensure that we can be here. But I guess it's part of the adventure in terms not in a good way, certainly, because being so lost in life is horrible, but rather in terms of, because you have to fuck up as many times as you want, and you can still say, even if you have completely screwed yourself over time and time again, yeah, maybe I will try something that is nicer for me after some time. So it's it's the final decision of, yeah, you know, we can come back to this place, we can try again, we can give it yet another coin, so to speak. We can toss another hour into doing this thing. Maybe this time it's finally better. And I mean, also it's in general something hard to describe, because it's simply trying to explain with pure words whether sensations and such. There is no way I can describe how good it feels to not be here, in terms of, oh yeah, you can be doom scrolling. You know how good it feels to do something like that? To lose hours of your life trying to watch something meaningful, or something not meaningful, there is no meaning behind that. To try and watch something more engaging than the last thing that you scrolled past. You can spend an infinite amount of time doing that. It's even better than movies, than series, than many other ways of entertainment, since you can just move directly to the next possible source of engagement, so to speak, compared to being here, compared to trying to watch anything that is longer, that maybe isn't as exciting, that isn't as compelling as this. Even I will say probably, yeah, even something like a game ends up falling short of that. You don't find yourself as entertained by something that you learned so much about. Even a challenging game at some point is boring. Even a true a truly engaging experience becomes dull once you understand how it works and exactly what do you need to do. Because you can also see, maybe, if it is that what it's failing isn't the game but rather yourself. So it's complicated. It's compared to something like that, where you realize that the final issue isn't anything that you can resolve, that you can fix, so to speak. Compared to that, this is so much better. Not this, once again, doom scrolling, I guess. And also, good morning, Crespian. I hope you're well. I saw you. So I had been triggered by that instant memory of, I should drink water. Allow me. Thank you very much for your patience. Anyway, continuing. What was I? Let's ask the fortune ball, the fortune ball, fortune machine. Yes, I don't know. Uh, this whole thing of doom scrolling. Compared to that, to something that requires input, or much more input, and that has so much downtime. I think that's the proper word. Um, doom scrolling is better, and even more when you have to try and find the fun itself in something like this. You're once again yourself. When you have to define it as interesting because you are trying to do it in a way that it feels nice, that's when it gets even more complicated. Like, can you truly entertain yourself? Can you give yourself any meaningful satisfaction without as little tools as possible? Compared to that, or comparing that to this complete opposite of, yeah, you just have to move your finger up and down, maybe to the sides if you missed something, to go back in time, to rewind for a little bit, something that is already incredibly short. And you don't even have to spend energy trying to see if it's something that you find interesting or not. If we have done something good, it has been the invention of an algorithm that ensures you to be completely engaged if you are willing to let it completely adapt to who you are in so many ways. And comparing that to once I'm trying to be here, this is like incredible hell compared to that. Why do you need to choose? What do you have to say? What do you wanna say? What do you wanna try to do? Why do you have to decide? Compared to that, this sort of existence is so much more harder. So yeah, I think it's like the reminder that being here is something actively chosen and not something done instinctively, is already heavy enough just because in so many other ways you don't even stop to think about the stuff that you. I already gave like 1,000 different examples to try and mention it. That yeah, even in your soul, you don't have to worry about existing. Your existence is already sort of given for sure. I will say, and here it's rather a completely willful decision, and in so many cases, will is the most lacking thing. So it's hard, but it doesn't mean that it isn't good to try or interesting to do. It's simply hard, but that's why also I guess it's a given capacity to decide for yourself what's the real meaning behind this, what's the real reason to be doing this, to be here, to be sitting here talking instead of once again going back to other forms of entertainment. What is the real reason behind trying when you can instead do something that you are already ensured that will go better in so many other directions? And it's improperly defining a reason of that sort that you can say, or you can, yeah, I think so, you can completely ensure that it's finally a good and enjoyable thing what you're doing. I mean, yeah, I haven't even mentioned that, but it's it's the most basic thing. It shouldn't need to be described. It still needs to be described in some way, but it's the funny reality of you have a wonderful mind. Anybody has a wonderful mind. You can choose. You can find out what you want and justify it in a way that it feels so incredibly meaningful that you can ensure that you're going to keep trying to do that one thing for as long as you can be alive. And instead, you don't need to choose something that feels so worthless in comparison, something that feels so incredibly meaningless in comparison, or something that brings so little satisfaction. But it's so many people who don't even give it an opportunity that certainly you're not going to find them having a great time. Nobody is born with the capacity to automatically decide what's the best thing for them. Even if you say something along the lines of, oh no, yeah, but you have an inherent sort of notion. It's a it's one of the most basic notions of, yeah, maybe you need to eat, maybe you need to sleep, maybe you need to stay hydrated, and even then that sort of stuff is mostly mechanical. It's not the conscious self who decides that, yeah, I need food. The conscious self at best completely twists that reality of, yeah, I need something to eat into, I need I need my my 3 foot long sandwich with toasted bread, and I needed to eat some tomato sauce, and I needed to eat some crispy lettuce, and I needed to eat wagyu beef, and I needed to eat this wonderful, very exquisite Italian cheese, and I needed to eat some toppings, some more seasoning, and some more. No, that's the conscious self that twists the message, I guess, of, yeah, you simply need to eat food. I wouldn't go as far as to say that you can eat the earth, but you can certainly adapt slowly to eating grass if you want. You need to be incredibly exuberant with what you ingest. Even in the topic of hydration, I guess. Yeah, most people don't need much more than water. You need to overcomplicate the story of, yeah, I need to drink an energy beverage. I need to drink something. I need this particular brand, this particular sort of completely flavorful, restoring, so fancy in this particular sort of cup. You can literally go on, as long as it's healthy, drink water directly from the river. Not that much more. As long as it's not a contaminated place, you can drink it and you're going to be fine. You don't die if you don't have, I don't know, something like a cup of coffee. I mean, and with that, there are so many. I guess that's for real a completely different story. So many addictions and such of, oh yeah, I need to be eating all of these things, and I need to be drinking all of this stuff, and I need to be consuming all of these other things. That's an even bigger problem. But I mean, basic food that won't make you be seen as a completely schizophrenic if you want to. Uh, Also, dog doing bow wow. Wow. Are they going to shut up? Maybe not. Maybe in the meanwhile, I will drink some water. Okay, finally they shut up. Going back to what I was trying to say, even in those things, even in the basic things, you need to overcomplicate the stuff. I think something that with enough given observation, with enough patience, you learn is water is good because it's basic, but not because it's simply basic. It is that it's good. It's because you can find something like water tasteful, completely tasteful, and it can be maybe a subconscious reminder, an unconscious reminder every single time that you drink water and you find it tasteful, that you are doing something right with yourself. You took care of what you are as a human being, so you don't have to suffer. Oh wow, I have to drink a cup of water and it tastes like complete shit. Not because it's contaminated, because my mouth is so completely destroyed by everything else that when I try to taste some water, it tastes like complete garbage. That very same thing that happens with sleep. As I accept, okay, maybe too much modernity. I accept that you need to sleep on a bed. Wow, controversial opinion. I need to be shot for saying that. But as long as you have a comfortable bed, you don't need anything else. You don't need to overcomplicate the process. It's in so many ways such a weird thing to see. I think the word was something along the lines the fetishization. I think it is something like that. Yeah, no, I said it so. The caption saying 50 cc fetishize, fetishize word, language, English, make. I remember the same term with an older word, snab. This necessity to incredibly complicated stuff you need. So it's the most tasteful food in the world. You can live with basic meat and rice, and both can taste nice because once again you are doing something right to yourself. It's so wonderful to hear somebody say, "No, yeah, I don't like how plain rice tastes." What are you talking about? It doesn't taste like anything. Have you been told that it doesn't taste like anything? Have you realized that it doesn't taste like anything? I'm eating something. I put a spoonful of rice in my mouth, and it's nothing. I have something to chew on, nothing else. How do you find it a bad taste? What do you need? Do you need to have? Oh wow, yeah. No, I can feel this particular herb grow in the mountains of the Himalaya, and I need to also feel on the other side, activating my tongue, this one so amazing taste of this meat that has been cured for 1,000 years in the deepest caves of Italy by a family of professionals. No, Yeah, what's what's the real satisfaction besides that? Like, oh wow, I ate something. What do you do with that? It's nothing. No, no, no. Yeah, yes, certainly. Plain white rice, the most basic rice. There are other rices that do have some flavor, but I mean, completely basic rice, and unsalted rice, unsalted, uh, probably completely unadulterated, also rice. Uh, so something like that doesn't taste like anything, and I think it's very much the same thing for, or I guess meat, like I don't know, a beef, basic cow beef. You don't spend that much time giving it some flavor. You you don't you don't put some salt, you don't put some pepper. You simply eat that, a piece of meat, basically. And okay, yeah, it has juices. Oh wow, the cow is so juicy. It's so well designed. No, after like the 5 seconds of chewing, you already drank every single bit of taste that it had, because you are chewing and you slowly destroy what keeps that juice inside of the piece of meat, and you keep for, I don't know, 5 more seconds, 10, 20 more seconds chewing something that went back to no taste at all. It, if you aren't altering your meat that much, it doesn't have any taste. And once again, the same thing with the rice. It doesn't have any taste. And it's fine that they don't. It's very much the same as with water. It's fine that it doesn't. I don't. It's not that, oh wow, no, yeah, I don't get it. No, I completely get it. I mean, it's it's very much the same with technology. I can see, to a certain degree, the usefulness of creating technology if it was only used for properly interesting human efforts and the sort, but that out of nowhere we can be here safely because we possess the technology to either from my end do this or the other one watch whatever it is that happens here. But the slow rise of, oh yeah, you need a, you need an even better PC, and you need an even better piece of equipment, and you need an even better technology, and you need an even more over designed piece of hardware that enables you to stream at an even higher quality. And you need, no, I if it was free, maybe I would say, well, yeah, I buy it. I buy the idea. But so much time is spent on something that is fulfilling for maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I mean, I okay, even the best movie has an ending. That's what I'm trying to get at. Even the best thing that you could ever have seen has an ending. It's so boring to see so many things that are in the line of, yeah, you can over engineer and over worry and be so immersed in something that is unnecessarily complicated, unnecessarily sold as something better just because it has more of this or more of that. It's in so many ways that I guess the real point was trying to go back to how it affects the individual. it's hard. It's hard because you certainly say, wow, this is really meaningful. I am doing something that feels nice. I'm not, but I can keep lying to myself and I can keep saying, yeah, maybe this has some sort of value. Maybe, maybe this is in some way interesting or meaningful. And deep down, there are so many things that you already know that are in no way satisfying, but it's a constant life of not even ignorance. I wish it was simple ignorance. True ignorance doesn't happen mostly because you're simply deciding to be obnoxious, oblivious to what you already know. It's not that you don't even possess the knowledge. I guess in that sense, yeah, you can say it's an ignorant life because you're ignoring what you already know, but I don't think it comes from that side. The real blissful in ignorance. It's so many things, so many days, I guess, of oh yeah, and today I'm going to do something that doesn't feel nice. And today I'm going to choose yet again something that I don't find fulfilling. That I guess in the end it's and I can choose something different. I can do something that feels truly good. Why do I deserve after doing so many other things that are complete garbage something nice? Why do I personally have the fortune and the opportunity to do it? And why, even if I have it, should I capitalize on that in any way? That's the constant discussion, I guess. That, yeah, I wouldn't say it's so crazy to express in my life at the very least I try to win and I guess certainly one fails so much until you don't, I guess, in that sense. Until you can finally say, yeah, even if so many other things are shit, I can go back and do this one useful thing, this one fulfilling one. I I shouldn't be worrying so much about what I do and don't deserve. I mean, that's the funny realization, even of I spend so much time worrying about what I deserve. Did it change anything? Does it truly alter anything? If I spend my whole life thinking about what I should deserve, does it impact my existence at all? Just because I sat here angrily contemplating at the world, what I should be getting? It doesn't pay as much as it's enunciated here also to simply say, yeah, you can do something that feels nice. Certainly you can, even in observing the world, you can fail. And I would consider it a reality of seeing people also lose it, so to speak, when they have to value properly what they are doing, why they are doing the stuff that they are doing, and such. So, going back to the point, and here, it is in such a weird place. Here doesn't feel like a bad land to exist in, I guess, compared to the rest, but it's simply complicated. It's always something. Well, no, I reminding me myself of that one line. It isn't complicated. That's kind of a lie. It's simply hard work, but hard work itself is simply hard because it needs to be constant. It isn't complicated. It's just the reality of accepting that it is what it is, and if it feels nice, why not do it? And if you can justify it properly even more, why not do it? Why not do the things that you know you can enjoy and you know you can find in any way nicely satisfying, and once again the real issue meaningful, in any degree meaningful, something that you don't look back and say, holy fucking shit, yet another day spent doing something so worthless, doing something that brings so much nothing onto my life. And not because, oh wow, yeah, somebody else told me, because I find it that when I look back and I say, this thing was meaningless, I simply lost a day. I could have done something better. And so many days that don't need to be lived constantly with that regret. That instead, I guess it's the struggle of simply doing effectively what one wants and doing efficiently a good show at satisfying what you personally aspire to do, aspire to have, or desire to do. And it's always complicated. I mean, I do have, yeah, okay. It, it sounds bad. Everything sounds bad, depending on whoever hears it. But there is also finally, I guess, accepting a little bit more to reality, the sociology talk there, because I find it interesting. It's also a reality that certainly having the fortune to have people interested in showing, in discussing properly what anybody wants to do, that honestly feels nice, is a blessing. I, no matter how much I try to say, I could understand. No, so certainly I don't. Certainly I don't have to deal with the issue of I live in a society in which I am told that I can only do certain things and I can only be a certain way. No, that's for sure not the case here. At, at, at the best, there is some negativity, but you can still work around it and say, no, yeah, this particular way of seeing the world is still dangerous. This particular way of going out the stuff that you like is bad, because out of nowhere what you are preaching, so to speak, is, yeah, the stuff that you're trying to do, the stuff that you're trying to have is bad, is complicated, is unnecessary, when in reality it doesn't work that way. I find it through experience, and it's it's once again that liberty, that freedom, and that already existing interest that also is preached by other people of, yeah, maybe you can do something nice, maybe you can do something that feels good because you believe that what you're doing is good. Maybe you don't need to worry so much about spending your time. You simply need to use it on something that is good enough. And I love those things are certainly the gift that never ends, I guess. I mean, yes, it's there are better ways to say it probably, but the reality ends up being probably if something like that weren't to exist, uh, the reality of yeah I hate self-censoring, but I don't think it's necessary to use the better term in this case. Something like self-exit ends up becoming more observed and more contemplated in those other types of worlds. I can very much appreciate the liberty even here and the possibilities of having the possibility to do what you want and having the possibility to decide what is it that you want by yourself. If you were to properly spend your time thinking what is it that you want in any degree, and if it were to happen that you were to properly value yourself enough to consider what you are as somebody worth of having a proper own interest, all of that is a wonderful thing, even if in so many ways it requires effort. But I mean, not just to say the line, oh yeah, but everything that requires effort is good. No, certainly not. Killing somebody requires effort. I wouldn't say killing people is good. Uh, but it's that freedom that feels so nice. If something like that weren't to exist, life would be so dull, I think, and so incredibly empty that once again that the real point, what I already said, something like self-exit will be considered tomorrow. I think it's just that people doesn't spend enough time, but from a personal perspective, at the very least, I can say I did a good show already. I found something that feels interesting. It's just the issue of committing to what feels nice in the longer run and not just in the more instantaneous, autonomous way of, oh yeah, I pull a lever, I pull a lever, I get big number, yeah, number go big, number grow, number shiny sound, shiny sound, number big. I can pull another lever, I can keep pulling lever, I can keep gaining. It's so good. No, that sort of stuff is the overstimulation is not a pleasure for real. But yeah, I guess that's so far what I had to say. Uh, I didn't want to really make it so short, so I will probably try to drink some water and think some more because I don't want it once again to be so incredibly brief. I feel like yeah, I was considering that quite a lot actually. If there is something wonderful about being live, so to speak, is that you can go for as long as you want. You can say as many things as you wish to. And even if I'm just trying to talk about the topic of existing itself, um, there are so many nice things to say, and it's just meaningless to end it on such a quick note of, oh yeah, you can have a nice existence. Wow, yeah, for sure that's useful. You can have a nice life. Wow, deep message. That's it. I let's tie it up. No more worrying. a reminder, or when sad day, remember yourself. Good day. No, certainly, certainly yes, but at the same time, wow, truly, that's everything that you can say. Truly, that's everything that I can try to say in any way. That's no, that's not it. It's just I guess the worries of trying to say anything also that win after. Yeah, I never even thought about it that way, but it does make sense that after so much worrying about what you are going to say, what you wanna say, how you wanna say it, at some point you directly have to deal with the realization, I think, of okay, you're saying anything. Are you saying truly what you wanna say? And not just for one moment. It's the constant accumulation of and maybe you say something wrong. It's I think at some point I understand a lot, so to speak, that aspect of teachers and such of and I don't wanna speak more because I think I said enough. That might be already wrong. I don't wanna say enough. I don't wanna say more stuff. I don't feel like it's necessary to say more stuff. But it's also in reality it's just an over acceptance of the reality that things don't go completely well. Nothing is perfect. We don't live in the reality of perfection, sadly. And yeah, it's completely alright to fail. It's completely fine to screw up. I mean, that's literally the message that I said before. You can fail every single day for I don't know 99 years of your life, and you can still live your 100th day nicely. You can still change the stuff nicely, and you can still, even if you do commit errors, just like any other human being, you can have a great time. It's just not letting that aspect of this thing felt bad. This thing felt like it needed some more thinking, so to speak. It just I don't know. I mean, it's always. I guess in that sense, I can accept finally the term. It's complicated and not truly complicated. It's just incredibly intertwined to too many things. It's just the constant overwhelming feeling of, yeah, from a personal perspective, it might be wrong. The constant feeling of maybe there are other things to do. There are other things that you should be doing. The constant, so to speak, uh, I think it became at some point one of my favorite memes. I think so. The guy with the sort of ghost slash skull whispering to his ear, the constant fire of your insecurities saying, "No, yeah, you should be here. You should be something else. You should be spending your time on something better. You should be working on all that stuff that you have left behind. You should continue with something that other people will find useful. You should be doing that. Not here. Why are you here? What's the meaning of being here? Why are you just self on this wheel of self gratification? What's the point?" That constant sort of stuff. It's ah that sort of stuff. Also, the the gift of having people around is also the curse of having people around. The reality of somebody tells you something out of nowhere, you overvalue, you overestimate that what they are saying has any kind of value. It's better to say in the end, somebody else say something, and since I based myself on what they said, the consequences are not mine to deal with, but rather are theirs, because they failed to make a proper judgment instead of properly valuing what I see as interesting for myself. Once again, I decide not based on what I want, but rather on what somebody else says that I want. And none of that stuff is always something to fight. I wouldn't say back against. It's simply that's the part of life of you exist because other people exist. It's the symphony. It's that's the definition. It's the possibility of creating a beautiful symphony with other people because you can appreciate who they are and because you can have the possibility of enjoying your existence with them as something that can be truly meaningful, not something that you need to be constantly fighting against. But it's only in the act of properly appreciating other people without overestimating who they are for you that you can do that. And it's a hard decision to make because you should be capable firstly of properly appreciating who you are before appreciating anyone else, so to speak. And I think I find it incredibly funny, even more from a personal perspective, how incredibly non-stop it's the message of, no, yeah, what? You yourself, you're not valuable. Why would you even consider yourself to be somebody valuable? Don't you realize that you're feeding your own ego? How do you want anybody to exist in this world if you don't let them develop a little bit of self-awareness? How do you want anybody to have a good life if you don't let them realize that they can be something meaningful? How do you want that to happen? How do you expect people to value others properly if they don't see that they can also be something valuable to themselves? But it's a complicated process. Yeah, I think the final line is certainly take care of yourself. It's proper care for oneself that allows something like that, but it's in so many ways the consistent twisting of the knife of, oh, no, you're deciding that you are valuable in this society. I cannot believe it. Wow. Are we truly going back to that? Are we truly moving back in that aspect? I guess. But yeah, it's still something that can, if properly handled, lead to meaningful conclusions, I guess. It's just that at this point, I have already said enough times, it takes time, and time feels like a complicated concept. I think that's the reality. Time is something impossible to comprehend. As a human being, you don't live on time. You are given the concept of time, but what drives you is an emotion. You can be attached to an emotion for your whole life. You base yourself on the impressions that you have because your impressions are simply how you are made to be. How you accept that you are going to be feeling about something the moment in which you see it for the first time, so to speak. And you can never change your impression about something and the way that you refer to the stuff that you see in any way, because you're rather choosing to accept that it's more meaningful to say that time itself is important when that side of the emotions that you have is so much more valuable than everything else. And that side of maybe I am letting my personal judgments completely blind myself from what I want or from what could be, quote unquote, hidden in the reality of a less biased world. I think so. That I can do something that feels nice, that feels good, because I give myself the opportunity to discover what is on the other side. And not that's the final thing, not without any expectation. It's so meaningful, or on the contrary, to keep it simpler. It's so meaningless to have so many expectations. It's so not because an expectation is something bad. It's so disastrous to have a dream about what reality is going to be. You only live inside of the ideals. The world is so different to what anybody can ever expect. So many things can go in so many ways right when you do try stuff out. You don't need to have an expectation. You don't need to live only based on what you can think. Have any kind of contact only with what you can spend your time observing as a possibility and understanding through your thinking faculties. As they will say, no. There are so many wonderful things that you cannot even explain. Once again, we're talking about feelings. We have yet the present to properly explain, besides the most basic degree of, some kind of signal fires in your brain and triggers a sort of hormone to be released that maybe makes you feel good or bad. Besides that, we have almost no clue behind what's the proper cause for a feeling, for a sensation. Why is something associated with bad, with good? It's such a pointless way to leave so many things up to things that are so completely impossible to handle. It's complicated in that way. And life reminding myself of that one song. Life could be a dream, just with a little bit less time spent particularly thinking on the stuff that has been for so long used as a reference point. I mean, there are so many wonderful things to say about that. It's the reality of, no, yeah, you cannot talk with everybody. Yes, you can. Can't the other person utilize the same language as you? Can't the other person reason? Do they have access to that particular thing called thinking? Does their brain function for that? Then you can speak with them. You can have a conversation with them. And I want to say, you know what? It takes so much effort. It's so over. Insert, it's so over here. No. You can try to spend your time realizing if it can truly be something that you enjoy. Talking with somebody else. You can see if the point that you are trying to make can be understood. And you can understand also that many people possess the faculties to understand almost anything as long as they are given enough time to understand the whole thought that is behind that. It's so many notions like that one of, you cannot talk with anyone. Yes, you can. That you are unwilling to doesn't mean that it's impossible to do it. That it's literally impossible to talk with other people. But it's so many stuff. Why I'm like that one? Oh yeah, we are beings of time. Are we? You're gonna spend your whole life stuck in one emotion, in one particular memory, in one particular day. Are we beings of time? Does it mean anything to say that to somebody who lost somebody precious to them? Does it give any kind of value? Does it add anything to say something like that? I don't think so, but okay. But yeah, I think that's the reality. So that's why we are in this place. Simply to try and in any way think a little bit. At the very least, if not for anything else, for that side of satisfaction that is brought to reality by accepting that, yeah, thinking can be enjoyable. It's the playful field of saying something, thinking something, and giving it, after making it come into existence, giving it a direction, and seeing that when you say something, when you do something, when you act, when you think, you're also probably moving towards somewhere, and your goal and the way that you're moving are completely different things. You can completely catastrophically fail in moving towards your goal, or you can have success. And I think the funny thing is also that constant balance that needs to exist. It yeah, I will say, even more so on a personal note, I don't enjoy the safe way to the goal of, oh yeah, we're going to exist here and we're going to try and see anything, but only in the safest way possible. So we're going to stake nothing and we're going to do it meticulously until we reach the desired point without having had any bump in the process, any possibility of failing, so to speak, in the process. It's why take no risks. The reality itself isn't empty of risk. Quite the opposite, indeed. You have so many ways in which everything could fail, and you can still try and find out that you did well. Why avoid it? Why avoid that realization here also of, yeah, maybe not every single thing that gets said is the greatest, but it doesn't need to be that way. It never needed to be that way. But yeah, now for real, I think that's the message today. Even if on one hand, even if I complain that I don't like it to be incredibly short. On the other one, I also think overextending is quite meaningless, or I will say at the very least more meaningless than accepting that something has reached its end. And I find it at the very least today, 1 hour and a half is enough. 1 hour and a half is more than enough in that sense. It was good enough. Also, I want to point it out already. I'm pretty sure I did at some point in the past. If not, I have this thought held for so long. I don't understand. I don't consciously try to make it almost exactly as the time frame as a class. I don't get why I am here for 1 hour and a half 45 minutes. I it wasn't an intention of mine, I guess. It just happened that way, and we simply accept it as that. Um, but it is still something nice, something enjoyable, I guess. But yeah, that's all that I have to say. Thank you very much. Have a nice life. Do it once again. Do stuff that you find interesting. Exist for. In texture, I think insults are utilized in a way in which you can properly highlight something important to be said. Close parenthesis. For fuck's sake, do something that you find interesting, not something that you simply find engaging. Thank you very much. That's now for real. That's all. I guess. No, yeah, I don't have that much more to say. Tomorrow, completely different stuff. Because now for real, going back to what I was thinking, I do want to be in this place, and I do want to keep trying to create something that isn't empty, that isn't as short. There are so many wonderful things to say. So tomorrow I found something that I can finally return to. I don't know for how long. I will try. Too many explanations. Nobody is a single fact. Tomorrow I will be here studying. That's the whole point. Thank you. Have a nice day. Drink some water, eat something, get some rest, do whatever you need to do. That's the reality. That's what truly matters. Even if I'm not here tomorrow, as long as you take and keep taking care of yourself, everything else will be fine. Have a wonderful life. Try to have a wonderful life. Realize that life can be something nice. Wow, what a crazy idea. Life could be good. Who could have said that? Wow, the rebellious statement.